Okay, you know what? I think since it's 5 o'clock, we should just get started. Good evening, everyone. My name's Abby Faulkner. This is Lights, Learn, Action, hosted by Light the Legacy. I'm Light the Legacy's Development Associate, and on behalf of the entire team, I really want to thank you all for giving us an hour of your time to learn more about advanced care planning and why it's so important for you and those you love to have healthcare directives. We are going to run through just a couple of housekeeping items really fast. First, we would request that you put your Zoom screen in speaker view. If you're on a desktop or laptop, you can flip the program into speaker view by clicking the view button on your menu. We also ask that you mute your microphones during the event. If time allows, we are planning to have a question and answer session at the end of the program. And then, of course, you can turn your mics on if you have a question you'd like to ask. And then finally, if you have a mobile device, and I'm going to do this right now, we would ask that you put it on silent. I think that's it for now. So without further ado, let's kick off Lights, Learn, Action with a little video. Big thanks to our web guru, Jeremy Ringsmith, for his video editing magic on that. We wanted to show that because that really captures the essence of the last month here at Light the Legacy. Over the past 5 weeks on our Facebook page, if you follow us on Facebook, you might have seen what we've been sharing. We're calling it the top 10 tips on completing your healthcare directive. If you've missed the series, you're in luck because we have actually prepared a 10-minute video piece highlighting all 10 of the tips that we shared throughout the month. So let's just roll another video.
Hi, my name's Abby Faulkner, and this is Take 10 with the top 10 things you need to know about advanced care planning. A lot of people don't know the things they should know about advanced care planning, so I decided to hit the road and ask 2 experts with local organization Light the Legacy. What really are the top 10 things you should know when filling out your directive? Let's find out together.
How about mine? Mess.
No,
Yeah.
yours looks great too.
I'm here with Lynn McKenzie and Patty Bresser. Both Lynn and Patty are certified advanced care planning facilitators and instructors. I'll start with you, Patty. What exactly is advanced care planning?
Advanced care planning involves learning about types of care decisions that might need to be made, considering those decisions ahead of time, This could be the result of something like COVID-19 or a severe injury from an accident. It helps others know what kind of health care you want. This process is for all adults, 18 years and older. Healthcare directives are free, and you don't need an attorney to complete one.
That seems pretty straightforward, but I'm in my 30s, so why should I care about having a healthcare directive?
Oh, let me take that one. So, Abby, tell me, what does a good day look like to you? What does living well look like?
Well, a good day for me would probably be being out in nature, probably in a state park on a gorgeous fall day, walking my 2 chihuahuas, Ziggy and Tiago. And I don't think I'd go back inside until it was dark out.
So, Abby, if you could take your chihuahuas to the state park you talked about on a beautiful fall day, what types of medical interventions would you want or not want based on your definition of a good day?
Wait a minute, I thought I was interviewing you. But your point is well taken. I guess defining what living well means to me will help me identify what kind of medical care I would or would not want.
Exactly.
So, Patty, I think this one is for you. I understand that one of the most important things a person can do is appoint their healthcare agent. In other words, someone who can speak for you when you're not able to speak for yourself, like if you were in a car accident. Patty, can you pick anybody you want to be your agent?
Well, yes and no.
Well, that's being decisive.
Well, let me explain. You really should put some thought into it because not everyone would be a good healthcare agent. And they might not even want that responsibility. Your healthcare agent should be someone you can talk with about your goals and values, someone willing to accept this responsibility, someone who will follow your wishes even if they disagree, and someone who can make decisions in stressful situations.
That makes sense. And now that I think of it, I have a few people in my life who I think might follow their own wishes instead of mine. So, can I actually change my healthcare directive if I change my mind on who I want to be my agent?
I've got this. Of course, you can change your mind at any time and for any reason. A good way to look at it is the 5 Ds.
Okay, I'll bite. What are the 5 Ds?
That's easy. The first is decade. Anytime you move from one decade to another, from 20s to 30s, 30s to 40s, etc., take a look at your healthcare directive. Second is divorce. If you're going through a divorce or another major family change, a good time to review your healthcare directive. The third is a death. If there's a death in your family or of someone who's very close to you, a good time to review. The fourth is diagnosis. If you receive a new medical diagnosis, go ahead and take a look at your healthcare directive and be sure that it still will meet your needs. And the fifth is decline in health. If you find over time that you're not feeling as well, not as robust as you had been, a good time to review your healthcare directive. And those are the 5 Ds.
5 Ds. That's a clever way to be reminded. I think I can remember that. Lynn, I'm curious about something. Is it important to tell someone? I would think that having this conversation would be kind of difficult, kind of hard to start with a loved one. Do you have any suggestions on how to do that?
Sure, it's important to have the conversations with multiple people. For example, your healthcare agent, your provider, maybe other family or friends that are in your circle that you would like to share your healthcare directive with. And to start the conversation, there's some examples that might be helpful. I need your help with something. Can we talk? Another one might be, my biggest fear is losing you. And I know that you've cared for me, and now it's my turn to care for you. Can we talk? Do you remember what happened to Aunt Carol? I don't want that to happen to you. Can we talk?
Two.
Those are great examples. And actually, now it dawns on me. I think a lot of people might say, I thought the healthcare directive was about whether or not you want CPR. Is that correct?
Actually, no. It can include a decision about CPR, but it's much more than that. It's about expressing your wishes.
My wishes? What do you mean by that?
Well, you might have strong feelings about being on a ventilator, having a feeding tube, or even if you do or don't want to be cremated. Your healthcare directive gives you the opportunity to use your voice, to have the last say. Look at this as an opportunity.
So if I don't want gawkers by my bedside or a particular family member present, I can request that.
Yes.
Great. So, is there a place where I can go to get help with this?
Yes, several things come to mind. You can go to Light the Legacy's website at lightthelegacy.org and download a free healthcare directive. There's actually healthcare directives in 9 different languages, and there's a short form, a long form, and a fillable form. So if you're like me and you rather type in your document, you can do that and then print it out to get it made legal. The second thing that comes to mind is at Whitney Senior Center here in St. Cloud. You can go and on the first and third Tuesday of the month from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock. You can either go on the first Tuesday by Zoom, and our website has the Zoom link, or you can go the third Tuesday of the month, and that is in person and by Zoom. There's trained facilitators there that can answer any of your questions and walk you through the healthcare directive. You don't need an appointment, and it is free.
And watch the website for updates on adding an evening session for those who might not be able to come during the day, and educational sessions to be held at other locations.
This is all so helpful, ladies. So, what should I do now?
Challenge yourself, Abby. Set a goal to complete your own healthcare directive. If you've already completed one, review it and be sure it reflects your wishes today. The resources are available, and Light the Legacy is here to help.
And did Patty mention it's free?
Once you've completed your document, be sure to make copies for your healthcare provider, your healthcare agent, and any other family or loved ones who should know your wishes. And most importantly, have the conversation with your loved ones.
Okay, so now if somebody's completed all of those items, is there anything else that they should do? What comes next?
Share this adulting thing with your family and friends. You can do that by Facebook, Instagram, emails, in person, however that looks for you. And challenge them. Challenge them to fill out their healthcare directive and say that they did it too, especially during this past year with COVID, the pandemic. Life happens, and so we want to be prepared, and you want your family and friends to be prepared as well.
What do you mean by join the movement?
Well, the movement where you can say, I did it. It's the adulting thing that I was talking about earlier. Anyone over the age of 18 should complete their healthcare directive. Anything I'm missing, Patty?
Well, yes, Lynn. I'm so glad you asked. Go to Light the Legacy's website at lightthelegacy.org and go to the I Did It section. Enter your name and be part of the I Did It movement. It is the cool thing to do. Then watch during the month and beyond for more educational information, events, and prizes.
That sounds great. I'm going to go there right now. I'm going to put my name down. I'm going to say that I did it because I have completed my healthcare directive. And that's a wrap. Now won't you join me and join the movement?
Another big thank you to Jeremy Ringsmuth for his shooting and editing skills with that video. That video really does capture kind of what we've been pursuing this last month. And now we're going to change gears just a teeny bit and welcome a few influential individuals with Light the Legacy to a panel discussion. I've been with Light the Legacy for about 5 months now, and personally, I'm looking forward to learning more about our organization, our history, our impact on the community, and what the future holds from a few people who have been involved with this work and the organization for a very long time. So if you've spent some time on our website, you've probably seen both our mission and our vision statements. The mission of Light the Legacy is to educate and empower the people of Central Minnesota about the importance of personal healthcare planning through facilitating conversation and inspiring action. The vision is a community engaged in conversation about their personal healthcare choices. But what does this mean in practice? So here to address that are our panelists. I'm going to let the three of them introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about what they do and their connection to Light the Legacy. And just a little bit of a note, point of clarification, Gail Olson was originally our fourth panelist. She was not able to join us tonight. Hopefully she can join us for a future event. So let's just go around the circle with three panelists, starting with maybe you, Dr. Lally.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. My history is that I came to St. Cloud in 1979 with my wife and started at Group Health. I was a family doc, and I delivered babies and took care of kids and adults and older adults that had a lot of complex medical issues and helped people really at the end of life. And I don't think it's strange, but one of the things that I really found to be most rewarding in practice was caring for people with complex medical illness and at their end of life. So I went back as a family doc and got boarded in hospice and palliative medicine. And after I got that, Quiet Oaks was starting and became the medical director at Quiet Oaks. Finished my family practice stint in a few years ago and joined the palliative care team with Marion at St. Cloud Hospital. And right now what I'm doing is outpatient ambulatory palliative care. And I'm still out at Quiet Oaks as the medical director. So very happy to be here. And my input on Light the Legacy is from the very beginning. And I'm happy to share kind of that history.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And a perfect lead in to our second panelist. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Dr. Jakovsky.
Hello, Maren Jokovsky. I am a physician, originally trained as a nephrologist, and I practiced nephrology here in St. Cloud for about 15 years, caring for those patients with kidney failure and on dialysis. I saw many patients reach the end of life, and I discovered that they were really not very well prepared for that. And I thought that probably we could do a better job, and that's when I shifted into palliative care. So in 2010, I started the palliative care program at St. Cloud Hospital. And around that same time, Dr. Lally was thinking about how to improve the care of those patients reaching the end of life in our community. And that's when we started the process that ended up with Light the Legacy.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, our executive director, Ms. Lynn McKenzie.
Hi, as Abby said, I'm Lynn McKenzie, Executive Director with Light the Legacy. And I just want to say thank you to all of you here for being here, because for the panelists and the committee, this is a passionate subject for us. I've been with the organization Light the Legacy since its inception, even before we had a name. That's been over 10 years now. And even before Light the Legacy had applied for and received our 501c3, our nonprofit status. So we've come from dust pretty much, and where we're at today. So I'm excited to share with you more about what Light the Legacy has to offer and some of our personal passions and experiences.
Thank you so much. Here's the first question, and I think I'll throw this one to Dr. Lally. Given your long tenure with Light the Legacy, can you tell us a little bit about why the organization is important to you personally?
Yes, for me, I think the conversation of advanced directive is probably the most important conversation we have in medicine. Because it's really asking a person to let us know what's most important to them at the very end of their life, and for us to be able to deliver that excellent care to them. And Light the Legacy is kind of the organization in the community that really is promoting that across the whole community. And so I just think of all of the important things that medicine does, advanced directives and talking with patients and communicating is probably one of the most important things. And Light the Legacy is promoting that throughout the community.
Absolutely. Dr. Joukowsky, how would you explain or express your relationship with Light the Legacy? What's your connection to the organization personally?
You know, as I mentioned, in my practice of nephrology, I met a lot of patients that really needed to have this type of discussion. And even in my training as a physician, I wasn't prepared for that. And so seeing that gap, that's what launched me into a career change in 2010 and changing my practice into palliative care, getting board certified in that, and really focusing on what patients want from their medical care. So it's been such a rewarding thing for me to do, and I think so helpful for our patients.
Thank you. And Lynn, you've been here since before the organization had a name, and you have a personal story that ties very tightly to the mission of Light the Legacy. I'd love to hear about that from you.
Yeah, thank you. Advanced care planning and healthcare directives are very personal to me, and I'll explain that if you don't know my story. When my late husband, Bruce, was 39 years old, he was not feeling well, and he went to his doctor, had many medical tests, and was soon diagnosed with stage 4 adenocarcinoma, which is cancer, and it originated in his lungs. And from the beginning of his diagnosis, it was already in his liver, his lung, his bone, and his brain. He underwent radiation to his back and brain and 10 months of chemotherapy. The last 32 days of his earthly life, he ended up in the hospital. And then the last 2 weeks of that time, he was on the ventilator. But going on the ventilator was his choice. At that very moment, when he went on the ventilator, I became Bruce's voice. You see, years earlier, we had completed our healthcare directives, and Bruce had appointed me his healthcare agent, the one who would speak on his behalf if he could not. Never in a million years did I ever think that either one of us would get stage 4 cancer at 39 years of age and then die when he was 40. I physically remember holding that document in ICU when he was there. And I was so grateful for that healthcare directive. We had had multiple conversations with family, and I had that roadmap that I could follow Bruce's wishes and speak on his behalf. Now, even though those decisions were extremely hard, I had peace of mind. So you can see when this opportunity with Light the Legacy came up, I couldn't be silent. I saw the importance of this very especially important work, and I wanted to help others be prepared in advance before crises happen. That's my story. That's my passion.
Thanks, Lynn. Dr. Lally, as founder of Light the Legacy, as an integral part of bringing this organization to life, can you walk us back a little bit and tell us about the founding of the organization? Oh, you're still on mute.
Abby, can you hear me now?
You sound great.
Okay, you're giving me too much credit because the real founders of Light the Legacy are the other two panel members here. But it was really interesting, and I to bring everybody back to about the year 2009, and a lot of things were happening. We had a new president, and the Affordable Care Act was being discussed, and people, for probably the first time, were really thinking that healthcare should be a right And as part of that right of healthcare, advanced care directive and having patients' input in decision-making was real important. So all of that was happening on a national level and discussions. Our hospice agencies were getting busier. The palliative program was just starting with Marin. Quiet Oaks was opening up. And so there were a number of people, not just me, but a number of people said, you know, we're all doing this work. Why don't we get together and talk about really what do we have to share in common, okay? And so actually I have the agenda from the first meeting that we had, and this was in October of 2009. And it was our motto was to bring together end-of-life providers to share ideas and find ways in which we can collaborate to promote these important services in the community. So we talked about a lot of things. We talked about myths of end-of-life care and death panels and everything, and how to kind of educate the public. We talked about pediatric palliative care, but the one item that really kind of rose to the surface in two of our meetings was advanced care planning. Because at that time, there was a community in Wisconsin, La Crosse, Wisconsin, that really was developing respecting choices. And the Twin Cities then adopted that model, and really they were trying to educate and promote and teach the community across the whole community about advanced care planning, because it's really the best care, and it has a lot of benefits not only for patients, but in terms of outcomes and cost and everything else. So it really came down that this group said, that's what we want to work together on, okay? And so then we had a bigger meeting, a bigger community meeting, and we invited somebody from Honoring Choices from the Twin Cities to come up. We had people from local foundations who were supporting kind of the end-of-life care. We had people from long-term care, hospice agencies. And so we all gathered, and kind of out of that whole discussion says, yes, St. Cloud should have a community-wide program for advanced care planning. And out of that came, out of that great idea, then came Light the Legacy. But, you know, you have to have more than a great idea, okay? You have to have leadership, and you have to have dedication, and you really have to have good people who will make that idea come to fruition. And that's where Marin and that's where Lynn kind of took it over, and that's where we are today. We wouldn't be here without those two.
Thank you. Dr. Jolkowski, how has the work of Light the Legacy changed since that inception point from your perspective?
So back in 2009, as Pat mentioned, I was just organizing the palliative care program for St. Cloud Hospital. I really had no experience in organizing anything like that, and I was feeling my way through it. And at the time when we had made the decision to focus on advanced care planning and had those meetings, Pat came to me and said, "Well, hey, I'm taking off now. I'm going to go on walkabout for 6 months. So why don't you take this over?" And I was like, "What? Me? I was just planning to sit back here and be this quiet participant in the whole thing." But so I, again, with very little experience and knowledge, I plunged ahead, and my deepest thanks to Mimi Bitson, who helped focus my thoughts on how to go about it, and for connecting me up with Center Care Foundation to get some funding. And so that's when we got our first grant, and we were able to hire our executive director, which at the time we didn't call executive director. Lynn was
Program manager and very, very, very part-time.
Yeah. And only, if anybody knows Lynn, they know she doesn't do anything part-time. She put in way more time than she was supposed to. Then we kept organizing, and eventually did that brainstorming on a name. I'll never forget that. We worked on that for quite a while. And over time, we got more funding, initially through Center Care, and then have branched out in other ways until we've grown into the organization we are today.
And here we are today. And Lynn, I'm curious. Tell us a little bit about what it's like to be the executive director of Light the Legacy. What goes into this work that you do?
Oh man, the first thing that comes to mind is it's, they say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it really is. Other than contract workers, I'm the only full-time employee. And so, but we couldn't do it without our wonderful, amazing volunteers that are so passionate about this work, and they want to help others for the same reason why I wanted to be a part of this organization and make a difference. I think the older you get in life, at least speaking on my behalf, it's more important to make a difference than to just have a job. And I don't look at this as a job. I look at this as a privilege and an honor to be executive director of Light the Legacy. So that in a nutshell, hopefully answered your question, Abby.
Absolutely. I'm going to toss this one to the physicians on the panel. How does advanced care planning come into play in your work on the day-to-day basis?
Well, and I'll maybe answer first, but it's in almost every conversation I have. In terms of I'm in the outpatient setting, so I'm seeing folks and talking about symptom management and goals of care. These are folks that have pretty serious, complicated illnesses, and but it's almost a daily conversation with everyone just to make sure that I understand what it is they want, because I explained to them that we want to kind of give you and respect your wish, okay? We want to give you what you want at that time. And so if you're not able to tell us because something happens to you, then an advanced care directive is a way of us knowing what it is that you want. I also say to them that the family member needs to kind of know and hear what that is too, because they would like to be able to know that if they can't ask you at the time because you're not able to tell them, you've told them before, either through a conversation or through an advanced directive, that this is what we should do. And so grief and loss is difficult for families anyway when they lose a loved one, but they don't need to be burdened with the guilt that they made the wrong decision. And an advanced directive allows families to know that they're carrying out the wish of their loved one. So it is just it's part of my everyday life, I guess.
And I would echo that same thing. Every patient I see, it's part of the conversation. And I feel so honored to be able to give patients the information they need to really be proactive about what they want and to help them understand their options and what things might look like for them as their disease progresses. And I have found that people are really very grateful to have this conversation, even though sometimes it's tough, but it gives them something that they have control over. And it is very rewarding for me and for them.
So Abby, can I add one more thing? I think
absolutely
this what Light the Legacy has promoted too. Before that, that conversation seemed like that's going to be a tough conversation. It's going to take a lot of time, and patients might not really accept that. But the Light the Legacy and the talking about advanced care directives, in my experience, has made it really a pretty easy conversation. And then on the whole, patients appreciate, like Maren is saying, to have that talk. And also in a busy practice, when I was in family medicine, I could probably in 5 minutes kind of at least bring up the topic and at least kind of introduce the idea so I could get it done. It wasn't something that it was going to take me 20 minutes to talk to somebody about advanced care directives. So the whole Light the Legacy promoting advanced directives, not only for us in palliative care, but for primary care docs and others that are in the clinics, it's made their job a lot easier.
Thank you. Our panel discussion is going to close fairly soon, but given the importance of this discussion in healthcare, Lynn, how can people keep up with Light the Legacy's work? How can people learn more and get that information?
Well, briefly, soon you're going to be getting a tour of our website, which shows a lot of the resources that we have available. and that's free to the public. So you'll see that, but anybody can email me. I speak, I teach. We do a lot of community education that we'll be talking about, that you saw in the video as well. So there's my email address is lynn@lightthelegacy.org. Really easy to remember. So, if you have anything, please let us know. We kind of have the whole central Minnesota territory, if you will, but we keep expanding. And when I say expanding, we expand on territory, we expand on programming, and also cultural initiatives. Right now, we've got a Somali initiative grant that, how can we engage that community and meet them where they're at as far as it relates to advanced care planning, healthcare directives. So a lot of exciting things. Sign up for our newsletter. You'll hear more about that. So
Thank you. Okay, moving right along. At this time, I'd like to introduce Natalie Spitzka. She's one of Light the Legacy's board members, and she is the chair of our marketing committee. She's here to give everybody a peek at our website and some of the free tools that we offer that we've brought up here and there. We've really put a lot of work into this website, especially recently. So if you've spent time on our site in the past, chances are we're about to show you some things that you haven't seen yet. So on that note, Natalie, take it away.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm Natalie with Light the Legacy, and I am going to take you through a little tour of our website today. As Abby mentioned, I am a board member with Light the Legacy and also a committee chair, so I'm honored to be a part of the presentation today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Bear with me. All right. I'm going to minimize. Okay. So first of all, I just want to take you through over to the three little tickers over here off to the right-hand side. Once you get to the website, lightthelegacy.org, you can, number one, start by just scrolling through the main page of the website to find resources. Otherwise, you can certainly click on the three little things here to get straight to a list of everything. So maybe you're thinking about something specifically, this is the place to go. So first of all, I'll start off with the blog that we have on our site. I invite you to visit the blog because there are so many different stories and everybody has a why, a reason for, as Lynn mentioned earlier in that video, what is a perfect day to you? Everybody's got their perfect day and their why. So it's kind of inspiring to go through the blog and take a peek at some of the different stories. If you look here, we've got 33 years old family with a few cute little kids there, all the way up to our aging loved ones to middle-aged professionals. Everybody is invited to and encouraged to fill out their healthcare directive. We're going to pop back up here and we're going to visit the resources. Resources are an extremely helpful tool, especially when you are thinking about beginning your healthcare directive. There's a general guide. There's, as you know, with the global pandemic, and that's another thing. When we talk about changing, we have the 5 Ds, and we talk about changing our healthcare directive within those 5 Ds. Another one I would like to add to that list is a global pandemic. Different things come into play, and that's why we have an advanced care planning COVID-19 guide for you to look at, because there are certain things that you may want now to include in your healthcare directive, because, for example, a ventilator could save your life. So lots of different things there. You definitely want to take a look at that. Different terms to know throughout filling out your healthcare directive, understanding things like CPR and these different acronyms and things like that. That little guide there is able to help you with that. Also, different things like dialysis, artificial hydration and nutrition, feeding tubes, things like that. Do we want these? Don't we want these? What's important to you? So I don't know that answer off the top of my head, so I can't imagine everybody does. So these are some little specific pinpointed examples of what this means and where you're at in your progression in your journey. It's important to understand if you want to proceed with these things or if you maybe don't want to, and include that in your healthcare directive. Also talks about how to talk to and pick your healthcare agent. And also we talk about things like it shows you things about CPR, ICDs, and other things. So what you want to do is, before you take 10 minutes, that's our campaign, take 10 minutes and maybe you go through each one of these for a few minutes and begin to understand what's going to be important to you in your healthcare journey if you can't make the decision for yourself. We're going to go back to the resources. And we are going to look at the different healthcare directives. There we are. Okay. So if you click on healthcare directives, if you're thinking, I want to download the directive that Lynn talked about on that video where I can type things in, print it off, sign it, super easy peasy, this is where you want to go. If you look as we begin scrolling down here, you'll notice you see some different languages. Throughout, of course, here's the English language, but we have several different languages on this site, and there are more to even come. So we'll stop here at the English language. So there's a short form as well as a long form. So both serve the same purpose. It's just a matter of how detailed you want to get within your healthcare directive. I know, speaking from experience, my own parents, my mom filled out the long form and my stepdad filled out the short form. So definitely different things for different people. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to find here it is, the long form, 8 pages, and just give you an idea of what it looks like. So as Lynn and Patty both mentioned, there are classes, there are different things available for you to be able to participate in, to go through this form with them, with somebody who is an advanced care plan facilitator. These questions are really based on what's important to you, what is important to your life. And for me, when I filled out mine, it did make me think a little bit. So you definitely want to put some thought into it. And I've got to get back to there we are, back to the healthcare directive downloads. So again, feel free to utilize that 8-page form. Maybe you're just getting started and you want to try that short form to start out with. That's just fine. But that's a good starting point, is on this website. Go to that resource page, the educational materials page, then take a peek at that healthcare directive, print it off, and have it ready to go. So as you can see, and bear with me, we've got some technical challenges over here. So as you navigate down past the blog, you'll look at, there's a way for you to sign up for our newsletter. So definitely feel free to sign up for the newsletter just by placing your email in there. There is a donation button too. So if you'd like to help us fulfill our mission with Light the Legacy, please feel free to make a donation. And then of course, here's the download forms as well. So pretty easy. And of course, we have the different trainings. We have our advanced care plan facilitator training, as well as our post training. So you can click on this and learn more about those trainings if you're interested in either of those. Again, if you need help filling out your healthcare directive, there is a free training every first and third Tuesday of the month via Zoom or live in person at Whitney Senior Center. We're going to go to the newest tool that we have called our healthcare directive report card. This is a new tool we're actually pretty excited about. we're going to see what kind of grade I get on my healthcare directive planning. So we're going to answer a few super simple questions about your healthcare directive. Are you an A student or just an okay student? Wherever you're at in the healthcare directive process, we hope this quiz helps you learn a little more about yourself. So I encourage you, after you're done with this education here tonight, to pop onto the website and fill out your report card and see where you're at and what steps you need to take next. So when I think about updating my healthcare directive, there are a couple different options here. I think I told my loved ones I've changed my choices, but I haven't changed my healthcare directive. I know I've done this every 2 years and updated it with my medical providers as well as talking to my loved ones. Update, I haven't even started it. I haven't even done that since I first created it. We're gonna check out this box right here. The choices I've made for my healthcare directive are still swirling around in my head. I have choices, have been mentioned to my cat, I think, have been conveyed to my loved ones and healthcare providers. We're gonna click, are still swirling around in my head. The forms for your healthcare directive are scary and I haven't looked at them, filled out but not notarized or handed out. Completely filled out, notarized, and I've handed it out to copies to my loved ones. I know I put those forms somewhere. We're gonna click this guy. Your conversations with loved ones about your healthcare choices are, we sort of talked about it once or twice. I've never thought about it having this conversation. Non-existent, regular, and informative. I'm gonna click we sort of talked about it. When it comes to your healthcare directive, you have what the heck is a healthcare directive? Thought about it, started working on it, thought about it, felt guilty and decided to do some research, thought about it, felt guilty and immediately put it out of your mind. We're gonna put thought about it and started working on it. We're almost done. So actually here we are. So you can either enter your email to join our mailing list, or you can just click get your results. So I got a B grade. If we go down to the B grade, I have the form completely filled out, but have not made it legal by having it notarized or witnessed. So my next steps are going to go into the B+ category, where I have filled it out, notarized, but no copies have been given out, but keep going. Get up to that A level. I share the details, completed it, circulated the form. A+, everything is done. I'm a superhero. Status with your family and loved ones by completing your healthcare directive, making it legal, updating it in the last 2 years, and having it scanned into your medical chart. This is where we all want to be, is at an A+. So once you've completed your report card, you've filled out your healthcare directives, and you are ready to go, we want to invite you to come back to Light the Legacy and fill out the I did it, which is right here. And you can go ahead and be included on this webpage sharing your story and how you did it. Thank you for listening to our tour of our website. I'm going to turn it back to Abby.
Thanks, Natalie. As you probably have gathered by now, one thing as an organization we're always trying to do is make the subject of advanced care planning just a little bit more interesting. One of those reasons is because we know the subject is overwhelming and even scary for some people. Our executive director, Lynn, has been involved with advanced care planning for many years, as we've touched on, and truly understands those feelings. In fact, she understands so well, she wrote a script for an Emmy award-winning play about what happens when a family member can no longer speak for herself. On that note, we're going to check out the trailer from a recording of the award-winning Lynn McKenzie original entitled An Almost Murder Mystery.
I'm Dr. Ellen Williams. I'm a physician in the intensive care unit of our local hospital. A few days ago, Agnes Rogers was transported by ambulance to our emergency room and then admitted to the intensive care unit. It's my understanding that Agnes was enjoying the first week of her retirement on the golf course with friends. When a severe thunderstorm warning came up, they wrapped up play and Agnes headed to her car and headed for home. In the blinding rain, she was involved in a motor vehicle accident in which she sustained a severe head injury, rib fractures, and internal injuries. She was alive when she arrived at the emergency room, but unresponsive. Her daughter Erin was listed as her emergency contact in the medical record. She was called immediately, and she in turn contacted her siblings and told them to come right away. There was no healthcare directive in her medical record. Erin was able to bring one from her mother's home. It was made 8 years ago. Erin was shocked to find that her brother Danny was listed as the healthcare agent. Danny is the oldest child. Agnes has never had the conversation with her children.
She chose me because I'm the oldest. I had no idea this would be so hard. Seeing her like that, seeing her attached to those machines. I just want to be a son right now. Not the one deciding whether to pull the plug or whatever I'm supposed to do. I didn't ask for this.
Mom may have put you down on some piece of paper, but you don't have a clue about how she really feels.
It was the hospital. There's been some developments with Mom.
Danny, I just want you to know I support you, I love you, and I will always be there for you.
Fun fact, an almost murder mystery has been staged at both the Pioneer Place and Paramount Theaters in downtown St. Cloud, starring actors from great theater. So if you're a local theater goer, chances are you recognize at least one of the people in the trailer. Another note, this play has now been produced, recorded, and is available for purchase on our website. And we may even have a special screening coming up later this year, likely in the fall. So stay in touch with us for more information on that. And I think that will do it. Once
Abby.
again, go. Yes, Lynn.
I'm holding up the Emmy.
You're holding up the Emmy. It's very shiny.
That's our golden girl from the play.
Well, I'm checking the time here, and I really first want to thank everybody for joining us for Lights Learn Action. I would be remiss as development associate if I didn't bring up that as a nonprofit, Light the Legacy is grateful for the generous support of our charitable givers. We do have big goals and a forthcoming wish list of sorts when it comes to ways that we can expand and bring our mission to more central Minnesotans. And if you'd like to learn more about how you can support us in this endeavor, or if you just want to see a list of our current donors and some of our partners, you can check the giving tab on our website that Natalie so graciously walked us around a little bit ago. I also want to be sure to just say our website's name one more time, lightthelegacy.org. And that's just one way to keep up with us. We also have a Facebook page and an Instagram account, and that's a lot more real-time, quick information about our goings on. So here, with about 7 minutes, being respectful of everybody's time, I think that it would be nice to just see if there are any questions or any comments, anything for a few minutes. If anybody has anything on their mind and would like to ask some of the leaders of the organization, we would love to open it up for a few questions.
Yes, I have a question. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, does the healthcare directive supersede all other documents at end of life? Say a family member did not agree with your decisions. Was that a document that can go to court and you don't have to worry about it, that your decisions they should be met and they will be met?
I can speak to that. I'm not an attorney, but it is a legal document, and we are required to honor what's in that advance directive. Many times the advance directive, though, will say that your healthcare agent can change or use their own judgment. And so that's why it's really important to pick the correct person to be your healthcare agent.
Thank you very much.
We have a question here in the chat. It goes like this. Can Light the Legacy hook me up with one of these advanced care planner people to work with me at my home?
I'll take that question. I would say, why don't you email me at, that's typically not something that we've done, although I do know some of our facilitators have gone to homes. But email me at lynn@lightthelegacy.org, and we can go from there. Now with the Zoom and all the virtual things, that definitely might be an option too.
Any other questions?
Could one of the doctors speak to what happens if someone doesn't have a healthcare directive? What is their responsibilities as physicians to handle that situation?
Yes, so if there's no healthcare directive, we turn to family members. And there is, in the state of Minnesota, a hierarchy of which family member has precedence. So first we would turn to a spouse. That would be the highest precedent, and that person would have the responsibility of making decisions. And beyond that, we have it goes through a whole list of your children, your siblings, your parents, and on and on. And if there's no family member, then we have to go to the court and get a guardian opinion.
I think the other other situation that happens is that it hasn't been written down, but there's been the conversation. And so there are times I'm meeting with families and there's a consensus with the family that we've had that conversation. This is what they would want. And there isn't like this disagreement between that you might see on the video or the play that you did, Lynn. And so I take that as good, you know, in terms of this, they're the closest to this patient, and this is kind of they're speaking for them. And certainly if the family kind of is in consensus about that, that works for me.
Any burning last questions from anyone? Okay, well, we only have a few more minutes left. I do want to bring up that you can visit with our advanced care planning professionals in person or virtually at the Whitney Senior Center here in St. Cloud every first and third Tuesday of the month. That starts at 11 a.m. and goes until noon. Of course, these sessions, like so many things that we've talked about today, are free, and it is at the Whitney Senior Center, but it is, of course, open to all ages. We do hope that you will consider downloading your free healthcare directive from our website, now that you know where it is. We also hope that you'll fill it out and have a conversation about it with your loved ones. Once you've done that, please go to that Have You Done It page that Natalie showed us, fill in the form, and let us know that you did it.
Thank you very much for all the hard work all of you have done. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
And that's a wrap.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
If the team wants to stay on here, looks like it's just us four.
Oh my God,
Abby.
you did it. It was great.
Yes,
that was good.
Yeah.
Oh, I can stop recording.